Primetime News with Israel Lai.
Now, coming up in the bulletin tonight, 4 more ministers, including Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, Nana Oye-Letha, sworn into office. Federation for the Disabled upset some traditional authorities are opposing the nomination of a visually impaired as chieftaincy minister. 2 members of pro-MPP group let My Vote Count release after being cautioned over their involvement in a rally the police say breaches the Public Order Act. We'll bring you a special report on the brisk business of commercial water vendors as a shortage hits the capital. All these and more coming up in a moment. Our very first story, 4 ministers have been sworn into office with the charge to be modest, efficient and punctual in serving the people. Leading the ministers to take the oath of office, President John Mahama singled out the Gender, Children and Social Protection Minister Nana Oye-Letha, who has come under criticism for her views on homosexuality, and urged her to work well above herself to win over her critics.
For the good management of the public affairs of the Republic of Ghana.
The 3 other ministers are Professor J. Nana Opoku-Agyeman, who is headed to the Ministry of Education, Dr. Oteng Agyei, now Minister for Environment, Science and Technology and Innovation, and Akwesi Oppong-Fosu, Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development. They signed the oath book after taking the oaths of ministers, secrecy and allegiance. President John Mahama reaffirmed his faith in their ability to help him deliver on the promises he made to Ghanaians.
We have every confidence that you will distinguish yourselves in the ministries that we are sending you to. Remember that your attitude and work ethic will at all times reflect the positive values we seek to promote, and that is the only way to transform our society positively. You must ensure that you do justice by all manner of persons, no matter their race, their creed, their gender, their politics, their ethnicity, or their religion.
The realigning of the former Women and Children's Ministry, he explains, was to rope in all other social intervention programs and make monitoring and evaluation of its impacts more effective.
The appointment that most excited public interest in the recent approval process in Parliament has been the approval process of our Minister of Gender, Children and Social Protection. And I wish to congratulate her on coming through the approval process. The person who comes to this ministry comes to the ministry with a wealth of experience. Indeed, she's a well-known person. With the process she went through, I'm sure that she, more than anybody, has to work well above herself to ensure the trust of the Ghanaian population in her capacity to do so.
Nana Oye-Letha, on behalf of her other colleagues, assured they will help Ghanaians realize their full potential.
Thank you to you for acknowledging and appreciating our competence and capacity to work as a team to realize the Better Ghana agenda and to fulfill the social compact with the people of Ghana. I promise that under my leadership and with our team at the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, we shall ensure that vulnerable persons, be they men, women, children, minorities, aged, persons with disability, every single person in Ghana will not only realize and have access to services they are entitled to. We will make sure that it is the people of Ghana who matter.
With the inclusion of Professor J. Nana Opoku-Agyeman, Nana Oye-Letha, Akwesi Oppong-Fosu, and Dr. Do Oteng Agyei, 11 ministers have so far been sworn into office.
Now, the Ghana Federation for the Disabled wants traditional authorities which abhor interactions between the chiefs and persons with disability to do away with the custom. It follows objections by some traditional leaders to the nomination of visually impaired Dr. Henry Seydou Dana as Chieftaincy Minister Designate. The Federation is threatening to stage a mass protest if government withdraws the nomination because of the objections.
Some traditional authorities make it an abomination for their chiefs to meet or interact with persons with disability on the basis that it defiles the throne. The paramount chief of the Sekwa traditional area, Nana Kweku Jumo Ankwana II, is known to have publicly objected to the nomination of the lawyer because he says it is an abomination to choose a physically challenged person to lead a chieftaincy institution. He has asked the president to reassign the nominee, but the Federation at a news conference in Accra today asked the chief to apologize for his remarks.
We are asking the House of Chiefs also to prevail upon the Sekwa Hene to actually withdraw that statement and apologize to the generality of persons with disability. If not, we will leave it to his own conscience. When the president actually subscribes to their demand, we will embark upon demonstration.
Yao Ofori Deborah, the president of the Federation, maintains the Constitution enjoins chiefs to evaluate their customs and traditions that impede human development.
As chiefs, they are the fathers of all subjects in their jurisdiction, including persons with disability. So they should obey Article 272C of the Constitution, which urges them to evaluate all outmoded customs and traditions that impede human development. Now, what we realize is that instead of carrying out this constitutional provision, they are rather seeking to entrench it. And this is what we abhor.
The Federation says they believe the president nominated Dr. Dana for his capabilities and not appearance. Meanwhile, the Federation says it intends to mobilize its members to troop to Parliament House on Friday in solidarity with Dr. Dana as he takes his turn at the Appointments Committee.
Meanwhile, the Standing Committee of the National House of Chiefs has endorsed the appointment of Dr. Henry Seydou Dana as Minister of Chieftaincy and Traditional Affairs Designate, saying they hope he goes through the process successfully to be approved by Parliament. The members paid a courtesy call on the President to formally congratulate him and discuss some of the challenges facing the chieftaincy institutions. We'll bring you that story later, but still in a story related to the Appointment Committee. The committee will resume public hearing of ministerial nominees on Thursday, February 7. The committee, according to a public notice, will sit for 5 days with 5 nominees appearing each day. Dr. Benjamin Kumbo, Minister Designate for Government Business in Parliament, Haruna Idrisu, Trade and Industry, Marietta Brio Apia Opong, Justice and Attorney General, and Jifa Ativo, Transport, will appear on February 7, while Fanny Sherry Ayite for the Health Ministry, Elvis Ifriye Ankra Youth and Sport, Dr. Henry Seydou Dana, Chieftaincy and Traditional Affairs, Kwesi Ahoy, Interior, and Mark Oyongo, Defense, are scheduled to appear on February 8. The committee has scheduled Ni Ama Ashite, Employment and Labour Relations Minister Designate, Elizabeth Ofosu-Ejari, Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts, Neon Bilijo, Fisheries and Aquaculture Development, and Paul Evans Edu, Western Region, to appear on February 11. 5 other ministers designate: Samuel Sapong for the Ashanti Region, EKT Ado, Central Region, B. Ziding, Upper West Region, Ni Laya Futiagbo, Greater Accra Region, and Al Hassan Azong Presidency would be heard on February 13, whilst the 5 ministers designate at the presidency would be heard on February 14. They are Mustafa Ahmed, Mr. Abdul Rashid Hassan Pelpo, Fifi Kwete, Alhaji Lumina Mohammed Muniru, and Comfort Doye Kujo Gansa. 2 members of the pro-MPP group Let My Vote Count Alliance have been asked to report again to the police on Thursday. The 2, Deputy Communications Director of the New Patriotic Party and National Youth Organizer of the People's National Convention, Abu Ramadan, were released today after they honored an invitation to report to the police. They are being questioned in connection with a rally organized by the group a little over a week ago.
The two, in the company of their lawyers, were at the Medina police station in a meeting that sometimes got a little heated. The police said they had violated the Public Order Act by not informing the police before going ahead with the Let My Vote Count rally in some parts of Accra. The two, however, insist they were just invited to address the crowd and had nothing to do with the organization. Executive Director of the Dankwa Institute, Gabi Asariotredako, one of the lawyers for Sami Ewuku, described the invitation by the police as unnecessary.
I don't understand why they were called. Because the names that they gave, some of them were not even at the event. And really, I think if this is a way of trying to muzzle those who are out there to express their freedom of speech, those who are out there to express their grievances over what happened in 2012, then I think really we should move away from that. This is not a police state, and I'm not so sure what the point of this invitation was. They were asked to write a cautious statement. Eventually what they said was that they have no comment to make, and they have no comment to make. They cannot make a comment for expressing their freedom of speech, and I believe that's what happened today. It was just more or less, if you like, a waste of our time.
The Let My Vote Count Alliance has been protesting the outcome of the 2012 elections in parts of Accra. According to Public Order Act 1994 of the 1992 Constitution, failure to notify police of a special event is an offense that attracts a fine or jail term or both.
We'll be back with more news from Broadway. The Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly has begun a decongestion exercise to rid the city of hawkers and unauthorized structures. Some members of the public have hailed the initiative, which commenced in the early hours of Monday. Affected traders are, however, disgusted and are calling on the Assembly to provide alternative sites to enable them earn a living. Mohammed Nuruddin reports.
The Kumasi Metropolitan Authority gave the hawkers and commercial drivers up to midnight Sunday to vacate all unauthorized places or face forceful ejection and possibly prosecution. Many traders had not reported for work when police, military and city guards moved in to demolish every unapproved structure, temporary or permanent. Pavements along the central market and other places were cleared, providing free movement for pedestrians and other road users. The traders are, however, not amused. Clement Kegeri speaks for caretaker city mayor Samuel Sapong.
We gave traders or hawkers in the city within 2 weeks to leave trading on unauthorized places. We were of the hope and conviction that they were going to pay heed to this particular directive given. It appears some people have listened and left the roads and pavements, others have not. We have come to a point that we need to come to the ground and make sure that the right thing is done.
He says the Assembly has a mandate to protect the image of the city.
What we are simply doing is implementing the bylaws of the Assembly. The bylaws were made some years back. When the bylaws were made, my boss, Honorable Samuel Sapong, was not the mayor of Kumasi, neither was he the minister designate. Myself, I was not a worker at the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly. These bylaws frown on trading on pavements. These bylaws frown on using streets as lorry terminals. There are reasons behind this.
Questions are, however, being raised about what measures the KMA has put in place to prevent the traders from returning to the pavement, as has been the trend over the years.
We have a security apparatus in the form of the police assisting us. After we have finished with the exercise, these people will still be on the ground monitoring. They will monitor. We will continue with the exercise in terms of our monitoring to such a time that the thinking attitude of the human activity, of the human beings within the city is changed.
The Association of African Universities is contemplating a compulsory course at the tertiary level aimed at reducing HIV prevalence among the youth. The idea came up for debate at a symposium to fashion out an appropriate policy for combating the disease in universities and colleges of higher learning.
The freedom most young people experience upon entry into tertiary institutions can sometimes be so overwhelming they tend to lose their guard and engage in all forms of vices. It is believed many young people at this stage engage in youthful indiscretions and sexual promiscuity, making them vulnerable to sexually transmitted diseases such as HIV. The participants, drawn from several African countries, were therefore of the opinion studying HIV as a compulsory subject could prove helpful. Professor John Anefi, a lecturer from the University of Ghana, explains why it may come to that.
If you have a very sexually active group of people and they have the freedom to do almost everything that they like, then you have to be very serious. Good. And then the next thing is that the university itself, by the nature, we have a captive population. So in such a population, if you have the disease in there and you are not careful, it can escalate. If you are training the leaders of tomorrow, they should have the knowledge of the disease, everything about it, at their fingertips. Because when they go out, they become advocates, for containing the disease.
The move, he says, is also born out of fear that decline in HIV/AIDS prevalence could lead to complacency. A lecturer from the University of Western Cape, South Africa, Dr. James Lees, proposes sex based on mutual trust, loyalty, respect and love as a better deterrent. Participants concluded HIV and AIDS prevention must be tailored along cultural differences. The theme for the symposium is HIV and tertiary education, prevention, protection and scholarship.
We'll take another break. Do stay tuned. Very welcome back to the news and return to our earlier story where the Standing Committee of the National House of Chiefs has endorsed the appointment of Dr. Henry Seydou Dana as Minister of Chieftaincy and Traditional Affairs designate, saying they hope he does go through the process successfully to be approved by Parliament. The members paid a courtesy call on the President to formally congratulate him and discuss some of the challenges facing the chieftaincy institution.
Led by the President of the National House of Chiefs, Professor John Nabila, they touched on the inclusion of the female traditional leaders in the National and Regional House of Chiefs, adding they would also ensure to resolve all chieftaincy dispute.
We thank you for nominating Dr. H.S. Dana as Minister Designate for Chieftaincy and Traditional Affairs. We hope the Appointment Committee will vet and approve his nomination for endorsement by Parliament. The National House of Chiefs has decided that the Regional Houses of Chiefs and the National House of Chiefs itself should constitute mediation committees to resolve some of the disputes in order to promote peace and development in the affected areas.
He reminded the presidency of the need to rehabilitate and expand infrastructure for the regional and national houses of chiefs. President Mahama said their concerns will be addressed, including an adjustment of the allowances, which currently stands at 150 cedis. He noted that Dr. Dana has the ability to modernize the chieftaincy institution and called for their support for him.
As soon as we go through the process of forming the government and the government has settled in place, we will begin to tackle those issues as quickly as possible. One of them is the admittance of our female colleagues, the Paramount Queen Mothers, into the House. And as the President mentioned, it's also the rehabilitation and expansion of the National House and the various regional houses to be able to accommodate the increased numbers of Paramount chiefs that we thank you for the confidence you have in Dr. Dana. He's been technical personnel in the Ministry of Chieftaincy for a very long time. That he has a disability, it does not mean inability. He has a very good grasp of the institution, and I'm sure that with your cooperation, he would be able to achieve the vision that we have to modernize the institution of chieftaincy and make it more responsive to the current challenges and realities.
Also at the castle were the Greater Accra Regional House of Chiefs, led by Nene Abraham Kabwa-Kwoku III, who pledged their unflinching support to the Better Ghana agenda and performed what they said was a special instrument.
In Greater Accra, there is a lot of concern about the various disputes that are taking place, and they are obstructive because they don't allow the appropriate traditional rulers to be able to carry out their traditional duties when it comes to festivals, when it comes to Homowo and all that. There are all kinds of different claimants that make it difficult, for these traditional rites of passage to be carried out. And so we will work closely with you and see how we can resolve some of the issues.
The Volta Regional House of Chiefs, also led by Toby Afede XIV, informed the president that disputes in Anlo have been resolved as efforts are ongoing to resolve that between Alavanyo and Nkonya. In all, the president urged all of them to resort to alternative dispute resolution rather than legal adjudication, saying government intends to streamline land administration since land disputes have plagued the country and caused investor discontent.
Next up, we'll bring you some business news. The Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana will hold its first meeting for this year next Monday. The meeting, which will be the 54th, will review developments in the economy. It will be concluded with a news conference on February 13 to announce the decision of the committee on the appropriate positioning of the bank's policy rate. The rate, which is currently at 15%, is one of the major determinants of interest rates. Elsewhere, Commerce Bank, Germany's second biggest lender, has said it will post a large loss for the fourth quarter. The bank expects a net loss of 720 million euros after a revision of its medium-term profits forecast had a negative effect on its tax accounting. And then the finance director of Barclays has stepped down from the company. The firm says Chris Lucas has decided to retire but will remain in his role until some smart investment tips. It's now time for some international news before we move on to sports. Now, contrary to claims by some commercial water vendors in Accra that the ongoing water rationing program announced by the Ghana Water Company is badly affecting their business, Joy News has learned some are rather taking advantage of the situation to fleece their customers. Seyram Abla de Souza reports.
This odorless, tasteless, and clear liquid called water is one of nature's most important gifts to mankind. According to the World Health Organization, about 5 million people die each year from poor drinking water, poor sanitation, or a dirty home environment, often resulting from water shortage. The importance of water to the well-being and sustenance of citizens of any country cannot be overemphasized. In Ghana, however, water for some time now has become a luxury item. The situation has worsened with the recent formal water rationing in Tema and Accra. From the main source, a 250 to 350 gallons worth of water is not sold for more than 4 cedis.
4 cedis no my bako nti mienu 8. Okay, the mom ton no offense 35. 35. I'm pe pipe no mu. Pipe no best. If say obi call no call be sa hwe. O sa no anu ma hwe say bi pipe obehu bulance obehu.
Depending on the volume of water and distance, these tanker operators or mobile water vendors sell the water for anything from 25 cedis to 70 Ghana cedis.
Be there a whole month. Here you can get water. It can go off for number of days, number of weeks. As I'm talking to you, my pipe had been off for a month now. There's no water, so we live on this 70, 60, 40 business guys.
Collins also tells me he has not been able to take his bath for close to 24 hours.
Today, as I'm talking to you, I have no water in the house. I've not taken my bath. I'm thinking of getting this pure water, cut them, put them in a bucket and take my bath. This morning I wanted to, even last night I wanted to take my bath. My wife told me the kids need to go to school this morning. So the little water that we had to keep it for the kids this morning.
Some of the tanker operators, however, complain of running at a loss due to the shortage. As you take your daily shower, water the lawn, or wash your car and gate, don't forget that fresh water is a life or death issue, and some people in Accra are unable to have a bath in a day due to the cost of water.
Now, Ghana trained earlier this afternoon after arriving in Nelspruit for their semi-final match